Today we're going to be drawing a Notan. This is kind of a Japanese concept of balance of light and dark. Here we have a scene with some deer, and you got to imagine it like a black square where shapes have been cut out. And we're going to flip those shapes across different lines of symmetry. Here we have one that's just kind of random shapes, but notice every shape is a separate shape that has been cut out and removed. Now we're not actually going to cut, we're going to draw ours out, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So using a pencil, mine's a 2B, but you can use any kind of pencil you have, a mechanical pencil or a number 2 pencil. Have an eraser for any mistakes you might make. And then you're going to need 2 pieces of paper, one small piece, mine's a 6x6 square, and one larger piece, which mine is 12x12. You can just use what you have, but you need one that's much smaller and one that's larger. Now to do it our way, because we're not actually going to cut paper, we're going to transfer this all out. What you need to do is draw your shapes out on this small piece of paper. This is going to be your pattern, your rough draft almost. So you're going to lay out different kinds of shapes, and you can have fun with this part. I'm going to do some random shapes in here. So it's not going to create a scene like the deer. This is going to be a little bit more like the second one. I'm speeding it up so you can see these shapes being drawn out. Some are kind of recognizable, hearts, stars, even butterfly wings. Now, before we start on our final paper, the bigger paper, we have to transfer this image to the back side. So what you can do is using a window or some kind of light source, trace your image onto the back. I used my magic to do this. Alright, so I have it on both sides. I'm going to lay this down in the center of my paper. You can't really see my edges, but get it fixed in the center. And then I'm tracing my square all the way around onto my paper. Now the next thing I want to do is transfer the lead of my design onto this paper. So I'm treating it almost like carbon copy. If I traced my lines on the back side accurately, what this is going to do is transfer my lines from the underside of my paper, of my small paper, onto the larger paper. So here I'm tracing over all of these lines. And then when I lift up, you should see a faint line. Now I've gone through and traced over these lines so you can see that design. Now, here's where the fun comes in and why we drew on both sides of the paper. I need a reflection across these 4 lines. So I'm tracing the butterfly wings across this line of symmetry. Now I'm going to mark these off on my pattern so I know I've already traced those over. Okay, now remember, if we were cutting the paper, we'd cut the shape out and flip it across that axis. But we're tracing ours. So here we go. I'm going to do the left side now. And I'm going to trace over these lines. And I took the 2 hearts and the circle, so I'm going to mark those off on my pattern piece because I know I've already done those. Now, lining it back up, I'm going to hit that corner, and instead of hitting left or top, I'm going to take it catty corner and I'm going to trace that. Making sure to trace the edges too so that I have that nice shape. Mark that off. Line it up. Now I'm going to flip across the top line. And I'm going to take this little drippy shape thing I've got going here and my star. So I'm going to mark those off. I've only got one more side to go. Now I'm going to take this triangular shape in this odd circle. I'm going to line them up, trace them over, and now I've used up the entire pattern piece. So you can barely see my lines. You might have a hard time seeing it on the video, but I have very faint lines in here. And I'm going to trace over these lines all the way around. Boom. Movie magic. Alright. Now comes the coloring portion. Remember, this was all taken out of a black square. Using a colored pencil of your choice, something dark enough to see, you are going to fill in that circle like so. All of those white spaces were cut out of that design. Now remember, we're not actually using scissors, we just transferred it. So we want to, if it's white, color the other side of it with whatever color we chose. I'm using navy blue right now. Black makes a really nice image, but I wanted to make sure you knew that you did not have to use black. Now you can do this coloring with colored pencil, which is what I'm doing, or you can use marker or Sharpie. You can use a pen, but it will use up a lot of ink if you do that. And here we have the final Notan drawing. Pretty easy. You guys have fun with this one.